The Vocal Studio. Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to another series of Find Your Inner Voice. We are the vocal coaches from the Vocal Studio Singapore, and we wish you a good day. So here we are. My name is Coach Boyana, and with me today I have beautiful, lovely Coach Nisha. How are you, Nisha? Hello.
Hi, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. And thanks for having a, discussing a little bit of our classical music topic for this
Yeah.
month. And so let's start. So today, this is our second series of classical singing discussions that we have for this month, right? As I said earlier. And so we're going to have an artist to artist kind of thing, meaning we're going to analyze a song today for you guys, but a song that is not necessarily, classical in nature, but it has some elements or components. Yeah, so Nisha, all right.
Yes.
So what is our song for today? This was Nisha's choice, by the way.
Wow. So the song that we have today is called Unchained Melody. It is actually a song recommendation that Boyana gave to me. So thanks to you.
I give you a choice.
But this was the best. So that's why I chose this. It was so good. So I'm really excited to hear Boyana's opinions on this song today. And we're going to find out a lot about the classical aspect of things today. What is your take on it? So let's hear a little bit about what is the song.
Of course. So first of all, there's a lot of songs that you can, regardless of the title or the genre of the song, there have some classical, singing influences in them. So let's say this song, first of all, I asked you, Nisha, earlier, right? How do you perceive like classical music and classical singing from someone like you who came, who was brought up with that gospel sound around you, and the Christian and worship songs, etc.
Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier to me, right? So can you share with us how do you perceive classical singing, or like, and then I'll go and I'll answer your question after that.
Sure. So just now you asked me, right? And I told you the moment you say classical music, there's only one thing I think about, and it is the orchestra. So I love the sound of the orchestra. I love it when Esplanade has concerts where they play movie themes. Oh my gosh, I love it. Or if it's like they're playing music from like different Disney movies and things like that. And I just go there and I sit there and I'm like, wow, like it's so amazing because you hear it all through like movies and stuff. For me, I get really impressed nowadays when I watch movies and I hear the soundtracks in the background, and I'm immediately reminded of an orchestra and how classical music plays such a huge part in a lot of things that we watch and we listen to today. So we just don't realize it. So I think it's really important today that we find out a little bit about how do we know that things around us are classically inspired.
Yeah, very wonderful. Yeah, I mean, orchestration, I'm very happy that you respect that a lot. I personally love instruments a lot, and I love imitating instruments. I also, when I write my own music, sometimes I write instrumentals without even having a voice in there because of the appreciation of orchestral music and generally instruments. So that's good. I mean, you see, Nisha, it's so the classical singing and instrumentation in because there's a lot of instruments in one classical piece of music, can be a lot of, as you said, talking about orchestra, right? So our singing voice, it has to be slightly different in sound in terms of how an instrument would play a particular piece of music, because an instrument only has one sound, right? If you have a guitar, or for instance if you have a flute, you most probably have one sound only that the flute can produce, but instrumental is limited. With our voices, you know how the operatic sound is, you know how it sounds when you sing opera, right? So this is what we have to achieve when we sing a classical piece of music, and that type of classical singing really blends well with the, you know, the classical sound blends well with the orchestration, as you said. So now let's go back to the song that we chose. All right. There you go. Since you like orchestration, no wonder you said to me, "Oh, I liked Unchained Melody, but you know, I'm not sure. Maybe I should go to the other song." We're not going to discover which other song you want to. So we need a little bit of how to say, a little bit of excitement for our people who are watching us to know that, you know, others to recommend in the classical field, classical music field. So Unchained Melody has that orchestration. No wonder you chose that, right? Because this little violins, and it does have that feel of like, you know, classically composed music arrangement, which turn, you know, around vocals. So, and also the movie, which is Ghost, it's an amazing movie. We watched the video, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's good. It's really good. It was really touching. Yes.
Yeah. Well, guys, please watch the video Unchained Melody from the movie The Ghost. I mean, most of you have probably seen it, or if you haven't, then do watch it, because, you know, it's a very emotional, and it's a love movie. It's a love song. It talks about love, you know, and so that's why we like it. There's another reason why we like it. Also, let's go now to. So yeah, Unchained Melody movie, The Ghost. Watch it again. We'll have a link below so you guys can access the song. So now you see the way the singer sings and his voice. It's you know, the beginning, right? Oh my love. It's already the sound itself. You can't tell. You can't say. You can't say, you know, you cannot say that it's inspired by something else, or that he sings R&B, or that he sings jazz, because you can tell the tone is very open. The vowel it's an open vowel, and that, you know, placement of the voice, it's very, very typically for classical music. So this is how you can recognize, you know, that there is classical influences here in the way he sings the song. And then what else do we have? Only when I know. So if you start using your classical voice or your head voice, and if you start, this is one way how you can recognize that something has a classical vibe or influence, or it could potentially be a classically a piece for classical singing, is that if you start humming the melody. So if you go da, da, dee, da, 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 does that not remind you that it could potentially be like an orchestral piece?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. So if you have that, and there's something interesting that this song offers, which we don't have nowadays, it's the bel canto singing. That means beautiful singing. Beautiful singing was introduced some centuries ago, when people were trying to impress or express themselves by producing a nice sound, you know. They were not this is also something that we don't really hear nowadays, because all you hear in the classical, you know, singing most of the times today, it's a lot of power and a lot of strength, and there's very strong sound, right?
Yeah.
Which is part also of you know, classical singing. But this song offers eventually, you know, when we listen to it, we can hear that there's a little bit of that bel canto, which means beautiful singing. That's Italian, as I said, right? Because it really sounds beautiful. So how beautiful the melody is, you know, and no one is asking you in that song to like raise your voice and make it classical and make it sing. So, well, you know, all you have to do is learn how to connect the melody nicely. Eventually, you know, if you're a female singer and wants to cover the song, then you can cover it by using your head voice, your falsetto, and try to make it sound beautiful. So beautiful. It's interesting that bel canto thing is actually it's very natural, you know.
Yeah.
So it's very natural how your voice is supposed to sound. You're not supposed to, when you sing bel canto, you're not supposed to scream and shout and things like that. but what to do. Back in the day, people had no microphones, so what was the only way?
Right.
The only way for us was to fill the space around us.
Yeah.
And there's no microphone. How are you going to reach, I don't know, like 5, 10, 20, 30, 50 meters ahead of you? 50 meters, but you can catch the whole auditorium, or everyone can hear you. So people had to learn how to do that. So how to make the voice sound so grand and so powerful and so nice in the same time, so that they can reach everyone. So that's one thing. Yeah.
But that's so amazing though. I always thought about it like how a performer would stand on stage and everybody will be able to hear him or her. That's just amazing. They don't even need a mic. Like what kind of training and what kind of is it more like definitely breath support? Is it like projection? You need all of that, right? So are those things that you need like years and years to train? Or can this be something that someone who maybe comes for lessons can pick up in I don't know, maybe 6 months kind of thing? Is it something they can develop quick?
Yes and no is the answer. Of course, it can be achieved with training, like anything else, right? It's singing in the end of the day. More you sing, more you train, better you become. Now, it depends on the stage of where the artist is. So, in my opinion, there's several things to mention. If someone is mature as a singer and they've done a lot of different genres of music, and suddenly they go like, oh, I want to do classical because I appreciate, I understood it's like this, and like that, and they can already sing, they're on those, let's say, professional or semi-professional level, things like that. What they can do, if this type of people try and go for classical singing, they will be able to maybe eventually get better, get good in 6 months or in a year. But consistent training is very important.
Yeah.
Because we have to engage our whole body. There's a lot of things for us to learn. And on top of everything, how the strictness in classical, in classical singing, there's no escape point. I can do it this way, I can do it that way, right? That. So everything has to be in a manner. So you have to get to that way of singing, which is the correct way of singing. So now for that, you need a good teacher, you need a time. You need to understand what this is about, and in the end, maturity. It's a very important thing. This is what I realized when I was very young, when I was taught how to, when someone took me, when my teacher took me, a classical singing teacher took me to work with me, and I was only 14 years of age. But in that time, I had a lot of appreciation, but the maturity was not there, because when someone's 14 years old, they have a small body, the mind is very young, and you're a teenager, again, that does not mean that a 14-year-old cannot have classical training, classical singing training. Why? Because it really depends on their preferences, like and dislikes. I know a girl who is probably 11. She's been training for the last 2 years like crazy. You see, so it's pretty rare, I guess. But you can, if you have respect and if you understand what classical music can give you, classical singing, and then you definitely should consider, at one point in life, whenever you feel like you're ready, I would recommend it, talking about breathing. I can improve your breathing, because breathing is super important in classical music. There's a lot of emphasis on that. Whereas in popular music, it's quite debatable. Some say you should breathe, you must breathe properly. Others, they deny it or don't pay attention.
True.
But breath support, there you go. If you struggle with breath support, maybe you can eventually consider take a classical piece of music, not necessarily a classical one. There you go. You can have an Unchained Melody, or if it's classical, you can choose another piece of which has a similarity, and then you can use a little bit of classical technique there, just for you to learn how to breathe and etc. So sorry, I'm talking too much. Next question.
It's good. That's really good. It's so insightful. Thank you so much for everything so far. Very, very good information. So next question. The influence, did we cover the influence of the classical qualities in the song of Unchained Melody? We did talk about the fact that there is an orchestric kind of
what do you mean by
arrangement, right? Yeah. So you were saying?
Yeah, what do you mean the influences? Exactly, what do you mean by the influences in the song?
Okay, at the top of my head right now, I feel like, okay, for example, in pop music or in rock music, that kind of thing, we have main influences, right?
Yeah.
That influenced specific artists to write a certain song, or, you know, they grab from different kinds of genres and then they make it into a piece. Yeah. So are there any kinds of influences that we have specifically on Unchained Melody?
Unchained Melody is, I would say, a classic, you know, a classic that could, this is a song that you could have seen or could have been written in the 60s, you know. I told you, I was like, oh, I thought this movie was yeah. So it doesn't have any, it's very simple, you know, melody wise, and orchestration. I mean, there's very little going on, but you can tell that the underlined, you know, idea was for the song to sound like it's a classic. Because why? Because the movie was also made in 20 years. So something that's eternal, that's, you know, the love between these two people, etc. So I would say it's only in Unchained Melody, all you have is just very simple classical sort of idea that is in the back. And I don't think there's anything else that would be, you know, there's some other influences there when it comes to, you know, the orchestration and the singing part. Oh yeah, but singing part, that's interesting. We have this that kind of thing, the lick, right? And the ad lib. That is also, I mean, the way the singer is singing it, it's not so much, it's very natural, but it's done, you know, in R&B, for instance, they use a lot of these like head voice, chest voice transitions. You know, there you go. There's a similarity there. You can also, now talking about that, let us go to our second version that we are looked at. Shall we? Who's gonna? We have a Unchained Melody by a beautiful artist that I somehow discovered lately through a friend of mine, right? We looked at this guy. His name is Mike Young. Mike Young also appeared on American Idol, and he was a street artist in New York in the metro station. He's been singing there for many years. Guys, please check him out. Mike Young. We're gonna link that in the description. Unchained Melody, beautiful. You will realize that sort of the black kind of per se voice that also has some classical, you know, a technique that he's using. So here you go. There's a beautiful blend. How you can blend maybe someone who sings blues or R&B with a little bit of classical singing. You get this beautiful, amazing sound that he produces. What do you think about Mike Young?
It's so amazing. The moment you showed me the version of Unchained Melody, this specific version, I was like, this is like so good. Like, you know, honestly, once just wasn't enough. I needed to listen like a couple of times to internalize the way he was singing it. I think a lot of times, like especially in R&B and soul music, it's really not about yes, the technical aspect of it is very important, but they sing a lot with how they feel at that point, and that is what creates the runs. That is what creates the things in the song that people will go, whoa, I've never heard that before, because they're not copying anyone. It's based on what they feel and what they want to sing at that moment. So that's what's so amazing about it. Yeah, so it's great that like we have such great classical influences, that we know that classical music and the pieces that have been created are so crucial and are so important. You know, classical music is important, and then we have people who take that important influence and put it in the genre of music that they're doing. It makes it all the more great, because you put two and two together, it's like, whoa.
No, it's amazing. I mean, I'm not saying that it's easy to do that. You either have it or you don't have it. It could be a natural talent. It could be something that you realize over the years, and then you went, oh, okay, maybe I can do a bit of classical training here, and I can use my natural black sounding whatever voice, you know. Absolutely, I think it's amazing. And you know, check him out, guys. We're gonna put the links there. I'm just gonna say something. I'm not that we just discussed. When Mike Young did the American Idol, I think it was a very huge shock, right? Because there was judges there. In my opinion, it's a very high level, but that happens too, and it's good that we have singers like that we can look up onto. That really good. So he didn't get all the likes from the judges. Can you imagine, guys? Please watch it, and then oh my god, right? But I was surprised that Simon Cowell went like, oh, that's amazing. You have it. He really recognized the talent. Whereas sometimes if there's too much going on, maybe he's a little bit over the top, as how this is a term that we use. But in the same time, it's just brilliant the way he sounds. So I think these artists and these type of people should be given a little bit of more light and then more opportunity, because we can learn from them.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, a lot of these artists are very they're underrated.
yeah, exactly. So let's encourage these people. Appreciate them a little more, because we love music and singing so much. So all we have to do is appreciate all these people who are really like who have this per se extra some wow factor that we can learn.
Sounds good. So good.
Anything else, Nisha? I think we can wrap it up, because we don't want to make it too long and too.
Yeah, I think you covered a lot of things, a lot of new things. It's good.
All right then, guys. Thank you so much, Nisha. Thanks everyone.
Thank you.
And please stay tuned. We are bringing a beautiful guest who's going to talk about classical music. Someone who really is doing that thing. So, guys, stay tuned for next time, for next week. Thank you, Nisha. That was amazing.
Thank you.
That you also appreciate this type of singing. So,
thank you.
You guys. See you soon. Have a wonderful day.
Bye. Have a good day.